I have decided that I'm going to try the local duathlon. There's a number of reasons why I might not have. My wheelchair is broken, so I can't use it, and I can't run a K. I can only just about walk a K, and I haven't really been using this blade too much, only for rowing, paddling, that sort of thing. So, and I don't have a handler. Now, I've never done a race without a handler before. I get on and off the bike when I go for a bike ride, but I don't know how it's going to go, and I feel quite terrified, quite honestly. Everybody thinks that I'm like really brave, la la la, but I nearly didn't get up and do this morning. The last time I tried a duathlon, by the time I got to the end of the bike, the leg had enough, and I could barely walk on the blade, never mind run on it. So I've got my crutches in case I need them in the second run leg. It's 1k, 10k, 1k, and they allow me to use the e-bike. So I'm going to have to be really careful about what I do with my left leg whilst I'm cycling in order to preserve it for the second run leg. Also quite scared about the fact that everybody looks at one of these and thinks, oh my god, you're really fast, and I'm probably going to be last. I was last time, and they were actually putting the racking away when I got back. It all just chips away at your confidence, and I'm really feeling quite scared. I haven't felt as nervous as this for a long time, and it's pressure I'm putting on myself really, because nobody else will care, and they'll all tell me I'm inspirational and stuff like that. But yeah, it's scary, because I used to be able to do this and now can't. So I've done the race. Well, how did it go? Now, I was slightly terrified when I landed upon the start line, because I know how hard running is for me. I know how slow it is, and I know how much attention a running blade attracts around here, because no one has one, only me. So people would look at it, think Oscar Pistorius, Paralympian, really fast, when actually it's probably more of a case of all the gear and no idea. But there I am, sitting inside my little, I used to be a GB age group triathlete skin, back at the beginner's level, and I can't even keep it with the kids. It really is playing with my brain, and I have to work really hard to not let that bother me. So I did the 151. I was the only adult that actually did that distance. Everybody else did 1.5, 10, 1.5, and 2.5, 15, 2.5. That's run, bike, run. I can cycle 15, 10, whatever K, but I just wasn't sure I could run 3, because the last time I tried a duathlon, I wasn't able to do the 500 and then the 2k. It was 500, 7 or 8k, and then 2k. And the 500 was tough. The bike was fine. And then when I got to the run, the 2k run, I could barely walk. So I had that in my mind, and I was just like really concerned about everything. In fact, I came back into the house and took my crutches with me as well, and left them in transition in case I got to the end of the bike leg and couldn't walk out of transition again. You just don't know what's going to happen when you're disabled. You've got to plan for every eventuality. Also, if I reflect on how this little race series has gone for me, before I was disabled, I didn't even consider it to be a thing that would be worth doing, because it's so short. Then when I became disabled, it was a goal to be able to complete one of them in some way. I did 1:10, I think I might have done the wrong distance the last 2 times, and the 1k, the first time I tried it, I walked it with crutches, and I couldn't, it was so hard and so painful, even with crutches, to walk it, that I only barely made it. The second time I gave it a go, later on in the year or the next year, I don't know, I'd got the wheelchair by then, and although my classification doesn't allow me to use a bike and a wheelchair, an upright bike and a wheelchair, it's a local race, they didn't mind, so I used the wheelchair because it was easier for me, because I couldn't walk the 1k. This time I had a tough decision to make, because I don't have the wheelchair, it's broken, and I'm not allowed to use the freewheel with it. and I haven't been running since the autumn because I got quite afraid of the traction under the blade. And I've actually been back to the limb centre, and we're going to change the sole on it to maybe a Vibram or something to see if we can get better grip on it. So I was really not sure how the hell it would go at all. I didn't have a handler. I've never done a race without a handler before, but I problem solved it, and I thought, well, I can stop and start on a bike. I do it all the time. I can get on and off it and walk up and down the drive on my bike leg, using the bike, leaning on the bike as if it's crutches. So in theory, because I don't have to get out of a lake and up off the ground, I should be able to do it without a handler, I thought. So I gave it a go. And the aim was to work out if I could do the race without a handler, and to see if I could get through both run legs without having to walk, crawl, use crutches, whatever. Yeah. Now, the results, well, I was kind of blown away with what happened with the results, because the first run section, I used they have the little cones marking the course every now and again, and I was using cones or barrels along the side of the course as interval markers. So I walked 4 times, 2 runs, 2 walks in the 1 kilometers. And still felt okay when I got into transition. On the bike, here's what I did differently. The bike section, I predominantly right leg pedaled, right leg dominant pedaling, with not much happening on the left hand side, because I wanted to preserve that leg so that when I got off, it still had some blood flow in it to allow me to still run the second section. So I got in at the end of the first run, 9 minutes 19. Which is pretty good. I can't walk it that fast. And then I did the bike section. That was just fine, no problems there. Got in, did the 2 transitions, they were fine. Got through, even though it was I was walking on concrete with the bike leg, which is decidedly precarious, but I had the bike to lean on, so it was fine. We found a chair, so that was fine. And then off I went on the second run. Now, I knew it would be more fatigue this time, and I didn't know if I'd be able to do the same distance of intervals on the run section the second time, but I aimed to do 2 runs and 2 walks the same way. And I was determined I wasn't going to just end up walking it to the end. So I ran when I was able, and when I started to fatigue, I would stop and I would change to a walk. I didn't look at the watch. I didn't do anything like that. I was just going on fatigue. Now, to be frank with you, all the way through the first run section, I didn't have any claudication pain at all, which usually comes on as a result of insufficient blood flow to the leg because of all the damage. The first run section, I actually had quad pain. And I was like, well, hallelujah, the quad has come to the party. I've never actually felt that before. And the first thing, it happened the first time this last week with biking as well. Now, I do not know what's happened differently, or whether it's just been time. I have no idea. And honestly, the bit that stopped me from running the whole of the run section was actually the strength in my left leg and my run fitness. And the second run section, I was a little bit tighter, so my run sections were a little shorter than the last time, but I still walked the same distance and then started running at the same point and did the same thing, 2 runs, 2 walks, and I ran across the finish line. And get this, I hadn't looked at the clock at all. I was just going on feel, and my first run was 9:19, my second run was 9:21. 2 seconds difference. So I'm pretty damn happy with that. I managed to run walk both sections. I managed to keep the claudication pain at bay. It was just starting to smart a little towards the end of the second run, and my transitions were fine without a handler, and I had no mishaps. So all was great. So this leaves me feeling pretty darn good about everything, because maybe I'm just being too impatient. And you know how it takes months to get your fitness back when you have a leg chopped off? Perhaps it takes years. I don't know. Anyway, I'm feeling quite encouraged by all of that. Really, really, really happy. I can't do the one in August because I'll be in London at the World Champs, but I will be back to do the one in September, and we'll see how we go. The next goal is got to be able to run the whole 1 kilometre. We'll see how we go. Now, all of of the local tri club guys and girls, the regular ones, now know me and have seen me around a little. However, all of the kids, parents and all their mothers have not. And I thought I was going to get away with it today, but no. I was asked how I was going with the blade from people that knew I had it. But yeah, there was one guy, and I thought he was doing well, really, to begin with. He said, "Oh, it's so amazing to see you out there," and all that sort of thing. And I took the compliment, thought, yeah, thanks for recognition. And just when I thought he was going well with it, he said, "So what happened?" Do you know what? Just lately, I just don't have the patience for those people. So I'm sorry to that guy who looked a bit surprised with what I said next. I said, yeah, well, it was a medical misadventure. And he sort of, whilst he was puzzling over how to respond to that, said, yeah, a medical fuck up. I do not know what it is about people that that gives them the God-given right to ask someone what happened to them. You just don't do that. You don't. Usually, a disability didn't happen by choice. Usually, it's by some type of horrific event or other, usually more horrific than mine. So please take one thing from this and just don't ask that question at all. Just think it.